Hi everyone! Welcome back to my channel. It is officially sweater weather. In this video, I want to share with you how I'm going to decorate my console cabinet. This cabinet looks pretty bare right now because I did have summer decor on it, but the branches all just kind of fell apart because, you know, the leaves are falling off the trees. It's time for fall decor. If you are new to my channel, my name is Lily from lilyarter.com, and I love to share my DIYs on this channel. So if you like DIYs, feel free to subscribe. I'll be sharing a few dollar store DIYs in this video, as well as stuff that I did for free that I found around my house. I did have to sacrifice a bit and go out and get clay that I used for the dollar store items. It's still very budget friendly. Let's get started. So for the first project, I want to share with you how I'm going to add chunky knit to, originally I had planned on doing it on this dollar store pumpkin, but because I want the chunky knit to be more visible, I'm going to use this pumpkin that I had. It's a little bit taller and it'll show off the chunky knit a little more. If you want to do this on a dollar store pumpkin, it would be the same exact technique because the pumpkin is hollow inside as well. So I'm just going to show you guys how to do it on this one. First off, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the stem. I'm just using my X-Acto knife. You could also use a utility knife for this. It would probably be safer. Okay, so now I'm ready to add my chunky knit. But before I do that, I mixed up a little bit of paint that matches my knit, and I'm going to go ahead and add a base color to this pumpkin. I think I'm going to do this just in case some of the areas are see-through. I don't want the orange popping through. Okay, all done. While my pumpkin is drying, I'm gonna go ahead and start creating the chunky knit. So the basic idea to this technique is just pulling loops through loops to create a braid. You do not need crocheting experience, and even though I'm gonna be using a crochet hook to show you how to make this, you can actually totally just use your fingers to do this. It's really, really easy. Okay, so here's my chunky yarn. This is definitely the most expensive part of this project. I believe I paid $7 for this yarn, and I also went out and got a 15mm hook, and this is just a regular crochet hook. All you do is you wrap the yarn around your index finger, and then you stick your thumb in there and you pull out some new yarn. I don't know if that makes sense. And it gives you a loop. So once you have your first loop, you're gonna stick your crochet hook in there, wrap it around the yarn that's attached to the ball, and I'm gonna pull it back through the loop. This gives you another loop. And you could actually do this with your hands. You don't have to use the crochet hook. It actually might be easier for you to do with your hands because I feel like it's not as confusing. You pretty much just stick your fingers through the loop and pull out yarn to create a new loop. And that's it. You just repeat this pattern until you have what looks like a braid. And the reason I sometimes like to use a crochet hook is because I feel like it gives you a tighter knit. Okay, so I'm trying to get it long enough to go inside and all the way down to the center, right there. So once it's long enough, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut the tail off and I'm gonna tie a knot. So next, I'm just gonna keep doing braids like this to go around the whole pumpkin. Okay, now that I have a bunch of my braids done, I'm gonna start by hot gluing these braids onto my pumpkin. So I flipped my pumpkin upside down, and I'm gonna find the center and glue my first braid onto it, and then I'll work my way around. So on the bottom, in order to be able to fit them all in, and in some areas on the top, you'll have to kind of overlap the braids onto each other. Okay, so once you add about 4 braids, you'll notice your braids won't exactly be going on perfectly straight. They'll kind of have to curve to go with the pumpkin. So to fix this, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a tiny little braid. I'm just gonna glue it on to fill in that gap. As you can see, this small braid doesn't end exactly at the top and the bottom. It ends before. And I actually did this on purpose so it's easier to overlap the next braid that's gonna go on. And I'm gonna go ahead and glue this one on. I'm just kind of gonna overlap it. And you pretty much just keep adding these small braids until you feel like there's no gap and the braids just go on straight. And here's how the top looks. Now I'm gonna flip it over and figure out what I'm gonna do on the bottom. Okay, now that I'm done with the knitting part of the pumpkin, I'm gonna make my own stem because this stem isn't really working. I actually saw this method on Justin Ray's YouTube channel. If you're not following him, he's amazing. But what he did was he just used a skewer stick and some rope that he pulled apart and just glued onto the skewer stick. And then you just kind of stick the skewer stick into the pumpkin and that's it. You should have a stem. And here's how it looks all complete. I love how this pumpkin turned out. Honestly, I was not expecting the chunky knit to go this well because I was worried about all the braids overlapping each other, but it turned out looking a lot neater than I was expecting. I would totally do this project again. I think it would look super cute in a light creamy color. Okay, so because I love the chunky knit pumpkin so much, I wanted to try and see if I could make it with air clay. I did something similar with tin cans the other year and I made a chunky knit planter. I'm gonna start off by removing the stem. And then because it's so sparkly and these sparkles get super messy, I'm just gonna give it a brown coat of paint. While my pumpkin is drying, I'm gonna go ahead and start creating the chunky knit with my terracotta clay. Okay, so this clay does get pretty messy, so make sure whatever surface you're working on is lined. I'm gonna go ahead and start rolling these out. Okay, so they don't have to be the same length. They do, however, have to be a similar thickness. The first step is taking your first two strands and twisting them away from yourself. And the areas that feel like didn't twist enough, I just kind of go in there and help them out. The next step is taking your other two strands and twisting them towards yourself. Now, all you're gonna do is lay them next to each other and then you just kind of squish them together just slightly. Now you're just gonna repeat these steps to create more. So to attach them to my pumpkin, I'm gonna start at the top and I'm just gonna squeeze down or put pressure on it. And then I'm just gonna squeeze down at the bottom and snip it off. And that's it. Then you just keep adding these braids. I actually left gaps in here and I'm gonna fill it with a smaller braid only because your braid's gonna start curving too much. There you go. Now I'm gonna make a small braid and squeeze it into that gap. So I was trying to figure out how to set this while I'm working on it because it just keeps flopping over when you put it down. So you could either use a bag of flour or just a bag of any kind of grain and you just set it in there and then you can keep working while it's sitting straight. Also use water to smooth out any little cracks in the knit. That's it. You just use the same technique and you work your way all the way around until you filled the whole pumpkin with chunky knit. Okay, and here's how the pumpkin looks all complete. Here's how the top looks and here's how the bottom looks. I couldn't really keep much of the knit on the top and the bottom because the knit was tapering in too fast. So I just kind of smoothed it out with some water. And that's it. Here's how the pumpkin turned out. I was questioning this orange color at first because I usually tend to go for neutral colors, but this orange is super cute. Just a heads up for you guys, I did wake up the next morning and notice a lot of cracking once the air clay started settling in. It's definitely looking more of a Frankenstein pumpkin, if you don't mind the cracking, but there is a solution if you're going for a cleaner look. I did a similar DIY a while back where I did a chunky knit tin can and I actually used polymer clay, and polymer clay is baked in the oven and it doesn't crack and it lasts very long, but you'd need to do this on like a thrifted ceramic or metal pumpkin. Next up, I picked up this dog toy from the dollar store and I thought maybe I could try and make chain art out of it. I've been seeing it online a lot and I felt like this might be the perfect base for that. I'm gonna start off by removing these little plastic pieces. And just for added security, I'm gonna go ahead and add some tape around these areas where I remove the plastics. Okay, next I want to shape them out. I feel like every time I try and move the rope into a certain position, as soon as I start moving the next one, this one goes back. So what I'm gonna try and do is maybe add this wire and wrap it around each rope. Okay, I feel like this is definitely a lot easier to shape out now. I'm gonna go ahead and use some of this white air dry clay for this. So I have my clay on and it looks super messy right now. What I'm gonna do is take some water, dip my hands in there and start smoothing it out. They're kind of sticking to each other and pulling the clay off of each other. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and prop it up with my foil. Okay, so I know that the instructions on the air clay said that it would take 2 to 3 days for it to air dry, but I couldn't help it. I stuck it in my oven at 170 for about 5 minutes, turned off the oven and let it cool off. And when I came back the next morning, my chain actually cracked pretty bad. I'm not sure if the air clay would crack the same way if you were not to dry it in the oven, but I'm gonna go ahead and try and fix it with some plaster. So the nice thing about plaster is that it sticks to any surface, which is super cool, and it is very, very durable. I almost feel like maybe this clay just doesn't stick very well to the rope. Maybe that's why it cracked. This plaster just comes in powder form. You add a tiny bit of cold water to it to create a paste. Whatever you do, do not use hot water. It sets really fast if you use hot water. I would not pour it down your drain because it will clog your plumbing. Also keep in mind that this plaster does start setting in about 7 minutes, so don't mix a super big batch at one time. Okay, so the plaster is completely dry. I'm gonna go ahead and take a scoring pad and see if I can sand it down with this. So after sanding it down a little bit, I noticed that there's still some cracks here and there. I think I'm just gonna leave it. I actually really love the way this looks. I'm just gonna have to probably seal it because this plaster is super messy. I feel like it has like a very unique stone look almost. Would I do this project again? Not in exactly the same steps. If you guys think of a better way to do this, please let me know. I would like to redo this project. I wasn't sure if I should even share this project because I feel like it just had so many hiccups, but hopefully this can give you guys some ideas and maybe you guys can find a better solution on how to make this. Okay, next up, I wanna try and create some fake bunny tails. I've seen these all over the web lately and I really, really love how they look. So I decided to try and make some out of faux fur. First off, I'm gonna go ahead and create the shape of my bunny tail. I'm just gonna keep it very tiny. I'm gonna flip my fabric over, stencil my pattern onto it. Draw the patterns onto the back of the faux fur, making sure that they go with the fur up and down. And to cut them, I'm gonna make sure that I don't cut through the fabric completely like this. I'm just cutting through the top layer of the back of the fabric. Okay, and that's it. Now I'm just gonna pull it out. There, we have one side of our bunny tail. I'm gonna lay some of this brown paper down because I feel like it's really hard to see the faux fur on a white surface. Next, I went outside and ripped some of this dry straw grass. I don't know what it is, but I figured I would use it as a base for my bunny tails. Okay, to glue on my bunny tail, I'm just gonna go ahead and apply glue onto the end of my straw grass. Now I'm gonna add hot glue to the fabric, add my other bunny tail onto it as well. And here's how it looks. So I did a mock-up of this before and I did it without color. I do feel like without color it doesn't really look like the bunny tails. I have some of this desert sand acrylic paint. I'm gonna dilute it in water and give it a very transparent coat of paint. I'm only gonna apply the paint onto both of these sides. I'm not actually gonna do it where the seam is because I think I'm gonna glue that later to seal it so it looks like one whole piece. Okay, now I'm gonna take my brush and just lightly brush it out, and then I'm gonna blow dry it and see what it does. Okay, I'm just gonna brush it out one more time and air dry it again. You know what? I actually do like the color on it. So now what I'm gonna do is seal these edges. I'm just gonna apply hot glue to this seam and squish it closed. I actually really love how the paint made the tips look kind of spiky instead of just furry and soft. And this project actually cost me $0. I had the faux fur on hand. I would definitely say this project is a steal. They do look realistic enough to where my guests come over and they cannot tell that they're fake, so that's also a win. And that's it for this video, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed it and found some of these DIYs inspiring. The bunny tails are by far my favorite DIY of all time. I cannot believe how cheap they were to make and how good they look for the price. So if you guys are wondering where we got our console cabinet, we actually made it about a month ago. And this is not Canon webbing, this is just regular old burlap that I used. I actually have a video of it. It was super cheap to make. I'm gonna add that video right here for you to check out right now. And if you're looking for more fall decor, I do have some concrete pumpkins that I made. I think it was last year. I'll add that video right here for you to check out. Okay, everyone, I will see you all next time. Bye.